When we map point locations, we could do this for a number of reasons. Perhaps we're just trying to show where something is on a map or where people might want to go. That's one good reason. But another good reason might be we want to reveal patterns that the points on the map are trying to show to us. When we're trying to do this, it might just be where things are, or we might be interested in some attribute of the points that we're putting on the map, some sort of information, how much it costs or how big it is, something like that. Another thing to remember with these point location maps is they can change with scale. So if we're zoomed out, sometimes points have to be shown as just one point or overlapping points, so much so that maybe we can't even distinguish them just because there's not room on the map. Leads to some problems. So if we have a clustered data set, the spatial pattern may be masked because the points are all clustered closely together. Of course, we could zoom in on that, but sometimes we want to show that well at a different scale. There could also be privacy issues associated with points we're putting on a map. If we're putting a lot of points on a map about how much people are paying for things, and it's so specific that you can tell where someone lives on that map, then people might not want that to be known. And sometimes point locations can be difficult to interpret, but I think with good mapping, at least we can make that a bit easier. Let's look at some examples. This is a map. If we just type in tourist destination spots in the United States into Google Maps, this is what comes up. So we can see that several points on this map, like Pike Place Market in Seattle, the Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, Yosemite National Park, Hoover Dam, these are all the areas that are highlighted here. So this would be good just for knowing where a location is if we were completely unfamiliar with where tourists go in the United States. But points can also reveal patterns. Spatial patterns, probably the most famous of these is the different constellations. Basically, when people used to look at the sky, they would be seeing a map of where the stars were in the sky, and they would be trying to put it together, such as the Little Dipper here, Ursa Minor, into some patterns that they're able to recognize, so that they can basically make some sense out of these patterns that they're seeing in the sky. This could be an example here where we're showing each point here represents a city larger than 15,000 people. But it's not saying whether or not a city is that much larger or just a little bit larger than that. And of course, we're not seeing all the information we might about all of the cities, but what we are able to see from this is some interesting patterns. For example, sometimes cities are clustered together, like in the Dallas-Fort Worth area here. Other times, cities take on a linear aspect, like these cities that are running through the Great Valley here, or the cities in the Willamette Valley up here in Oregon. And other times we just see that they're clustered close to bodies of water, like the greater Chicago area here, or the entire eastern seaboard, where we're all the way from Washington, D.C. up through Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. We just get this long trend of there's a whole bunch of cities right in that area there because there's a lot of people living there. But sometimes we just kind of see a cluster of locations. This is houses for sale in the Bend area, and it's hard to kind of break out a pattern. We can see where some houses, with some areas where houses are not for sale. Of course, part of this is where the urban growth boundary is, and other things that's limiting it. But all we could probably really summarize about this is that there's a lot of houses for sale in Bend. Of course, if we wanted to get more information on that, we could zoom in, and Zillow would actually give us the price of all of these houses, and if we click on one of those houses, it would give us even more information than that. So these point locations can be useful for providing information, but in this case, it's as text and or a clickable link, and that might not be the easiest information to interpret. And in fact, if we did this by something like how much the house cost, darker colors being a higher cost, we might be more easily able to see patterns on this map.